The morning I found a dead carp gasping in my toilet, I knew the HOA had crossed the line from petty to outright warfare. My kitchen faucet sputtered nothing but a dry wheeze, my cattle trough sat empty under a blazing sun, and my zucchini patch wilted like it had been hexed. Even my hounds were sniffing the birdbath like it held the last drop of hope. Bewildered, I stomped outside, boots half-laced, and spotted a pristine envelope taped to my gatepost, mocking me with its HOA seal in chirpy font. The note hit like a sucker punch. Saw water access terminated due to non-compliance with HOA landscaping standards. Thank you for your cooperation. Saw no warning, no hearing, no shred of reason, just a cutoff, as if I, Jack Harlan, owner of 15 acres my kin had worked since the 1940s, was some deadbeat renter instead of a rightful heir. Fury carried me to the HOA office, dust trailing my every step. The place reeked of lemon polish and Deborah Voss's cloying perfume. Deborah, the HOA's self-anointed empress, lounged behind her desk like she was guarding Fort Knox. Her own yard boasted a waterfall, a lily pond, and enough water to shame a resort spa. When I demanded to know how she dared cut my water, she flashed a grin sharp enough to slice bread and said, "Your property's within our jurisdiction, Jack, and that overgrown yard violates our bylaws." I bit back a laugh, asking if she'd personally measured my hedges against Article 4.2.1 of her sacred covenant. Unfazed, she slid me a pamphlet titled Saw Greening Our Future Saw. I left with her smugness burning in my chest and a clear VYEW of her game. Deborah had pulled stunts before finding me for my goats bleeding past 7 a.m., demanding I dismantle my vintage water tower for VY soil hostility. But this was no mere flex. Cutting a farmer's water was a calculated strike, and I knew why. She'd been eyeing the plot next to mine for her dream community plaza. My land blocked her VY shown, and she thought thirst would force me to sell. She didn't bank on me being stubborn enough to counter with ingenuity and a touch of malice. I called my buddy Nate, who owed me for hauling his Jeep out of RAVYNE during a '98 snowstorm. Now an off-grid wizard, Nate built solar rigs for Sir VY Valists and eco-farmers. Over beers in my barn, I laid out the HOA's betrayal. He chuckled, eyes glinting, and said, "Let's harness the sun and ram it down their throats, Jack." We sketched a plan on a grain sack, a solar-powered pump, underground pipes, private irrigation, all legal, all on my deeded land, all beyond Deborah's reach. That night, armed with headlamps and grit, we started digging. My barn turned into a war room, trenches snaking under moonlight, pipes hidden beneath innocent rose beds. When HOA drones buzzed overhead or complaint letters arrived, I waved cheerily, letting them think I'd caved. Meanwhile, I was wiring a rebellion, each cable a middle finger to their control. 3 days in, Deborah rolled up in her golf cart, clipboard in hand, sunglasses bigger than her ego. She sniffed the air like she could smell defiance, and asked if I was ready to play nice. I grinned, handing her a fake blueprint I'd scribbled in marker, detailing a birdbath and some compliant shrubs labeled SAW for neighborhood unity SAW. She nodded, satisfied, and sped off. I'll believe us that my solar pump was days from activation, drawing water from an aquifer only I could tap. I didn't tell her I'd checked county records and learned the HOA's water rights were leased, not owned, with the lease expiring in weeks. Nor did I mention I'd quietly bid on it. Some VY Tories taste better when served cold. When the pump went live, I walked my land at dawn, coffee in hand, watching troughs fill and crops perk up. The solar array gleamed like a silent warrior, humming under the rising sun. I toasted it, half in awe, half in disbelief that I'd pulled it off. No fines, no cease and desist, no HOA fingerprints anywhere. I'd reclaimed power, not just the kind that runs pumps, but the kind that comes when someone tries to crush you and you rise stronger. As I savored the moment, I glimpsed HOA board members by their parched community garden, fanning themselves in the heat, clueless that their game was about to implode. Nate arrived the next day with a trailer of gear, dust swirling like a battle cry. We unloaded solar panels, pipes, and a pump he'd crafted in his shed, a beast that could siphon the aquifer without a whisper. We set the panels in my back field, angled for maximum sun, hidden from HOA spies. The trenches were ready, so we threaded pipes to a buried tank that could hold 8,000 gallons, enough to outlast any drought. It was all above board, on my soil, untouchable. While Nate wired the system, I drove to the county office, armed with a secret that felt like dynamite. The HOA's water lease was a ticking clock, and I'd learned no one else had bid on it. Meeting the broker, I laid out my case, pointing to the aquifer under my land. He nodded, amused but intrigued, and handed me a receipt that could shift the tide. Back home, Nate had the pump running, water gushing into the tank without a drop from Deborah's grid. That night, over grilled venison, I felt the weight lift. But I knew Deborah's eyes-rones, lackeys, or nosy neighbors would notice soon. Sure enough, she stormed down my drive days later, VY sore low, heels stabbing the gravel. "I hear you're building something unapproved," she snapped. I leaned on my gate, calm as a snake, and said, "Construction on shared land needs your stamp, Deborah. This ain't shared." She squinted at my pasture, seeing only cows and sky, and tried another tack. "Cooperate, and we might restore your water. Host our spring gala on your land, and we'll talk." Her desperation was palpable. She never bargained. I smiled, asking for the offer in writing, knowing she just handed me a chess piece. We fortified the system, disguising pipes as farm gear and rigging decoy tanks to fool inspectors. Deborah's gala in VYT arrived, promising temporary water if I played along. I tweaked the letter, adding a clause that any land use would cost her commercial rates, and had my lawyer notarize it. Her signature stayed. The board didn't blink. I hung the doctored contract in my barn beside my dad's old hatchet, a new kind of weapon. The gala was a circus of excess hay bales staged for Instagram, string lights swaying, tables buckling under catered fruit. Deborah had demanded my ranch as the venue, CRAVYing rustic selfies to boost her HOA throne. SUVs and golf carts flooded my gate, locals petting my steers like zoo animals. I sipped tea on my porch, watching Deborah flounce in a peach tracksuit, barking orders. The mayor arrived, all teeth and handshakes, with Deborah playing tour guide, gushing about community harmony. She never mentioned VYing my land. I bided my time. By afternoon, chaos crept in. Portable toilets ran dry, sprinklers failed, and the refreshment tents sink coughed dust. Deborah's smart system was dead, her calls unanswered. Whispers turned to shouts as guests sweltered. I'd known this was coming. VY, any choked pipe in an HOA line on my easement had, naturally, failed. I hadn't touched it, I'd just let it rot. Stepping forward, I offered the mayor a tour of my solar pump. Just for education. He leaped at the ecobait, trailing me to the barn where the panels shone like justice. "Self-contained, county-approved," I said, handing him the permit. The crowd peppered me with questions. Could they join my system? Was it cheaper? Deborah tried to cut in, but her voice drowned in the tide. Then she snapped, accusing me of sabotage. I faced her steady. "You cut my water, Deborah." I adapted. "You used my land, but I didn't sign up to fix your failures." The mayor pressed her. Had she really shut me off without due process? Her excuses landscaping unity crumbled. Guests drifted away, muttering about her reign. By dusk, the gala was a wilted mess, Deborah's mascara streaking as she stood alone, defeated. The aftermath was wildfire. A kid's VY deo of Deborah's lemonade-soaked tantrum went VY ral, and HOA complaints piled up. She called an emergency meeting blaming me, but the room turned. Why was their water brittle? Why was I the troublemaker? The only one with flow? Her last gambit reporting my pump to the county backfired. Inspector Clara, a no-frills veteran, cleared my setup but spotted an illegal line siphoning HOA water to Deborah's pond. An audit followed, exposing her scams, fake invoices, vanished funds, and targeted shutoffs. The treasurer quit, then 2 board members. At a public meeting, the mayor read the findings, and when Deborah's pond theft was revealed, a resident hissed. "We funded her fish?" Her denials sank under her own signatures. A petition ousted her, and she was gone. I sealed the water lease for a decade, then offered neighbors access at cost, no games, just sun-powered freedom. Some signed up fast, others warmed slowly. Deborah's car crept by one evening, her pond drained, her house for sale. I didn't gloat. The land had settled its own scores. Nate and I toasted over ribs, laughing at how a pump sparked a revolution. Under new HOA head Martha, a pragmatic ex-librarian, we built a community water plant fair, resident-led. Neighbors gathered at my ranch, not for fights but for BBQs and pump tours. Kids played, adults learned, and by summer, 6 homes ran on solar water, built by shared sweat. The mayor returned, eyeing our model for county use. At a town meeting under my oak tree, I spoke plainly. This wasn't about vengeance but survival. When they cut you off, you dig deeper. As marshmallows roasted and stars blinked, Nate asked if I'd planned a water uprising. Just wanted my zucchini to live, I said. He grinned. Mission accomplished. Alone later, I stood by the humming pump, its glow a quiet vow. They tried to choke me, but I'd found a vein of resilience and shared it. That was power, the kind that lifts everyone, not just one.